These boys have something in common besides their ability to play pool. Each of them left high school before completing an education. Society has, in its attempt to categorize and name each of its ills, called them dropouts. They and thousands like them have, in recent years, come under a great deal of study by both federal and state agencies. They have been accused of contributing to an economic drag in the society. For without at least a high school diploma, many of these youths find it difficult to obtain and hold jobs in the increasingly complex and technological business world. Many do not care. Somewhere they have failed to find the importance for gaining a skill at some type of job. At the present time, 5 out of every 15 teenagers in the nation are leaving school. Most go from job to job with little to offer or gain from society. Most of them are content to do nothing about it, but a few of them are not.
Here, now you play with your guy till I get you some milk. Here, play with your guy. Play with it. Okay. Now I'm going to wash it these dishes.
Pinky Barnett is another example of a teenager who left high school before completing her education. In this instance, however, she left the responsibilities of schooling to take on the much more complicated and time-consuming responsibilities of being a mother and wife.
You want to be bad, don't you? You want to be bad? You're not going to play with Grayling either? You going to be nice? You going to eat your lunch? You're not going to do nothing on it.
She has 2 children. Arintra Lynn is 20 months old, and there is another girl, 6-month-old Cynthia, who is cared for part-time by Pinky's mother. Like most housewives, the day starts early, with straightening up the house, getting the baby dressed and fed, and clearing away the breakfast dishes.
Get him ready to go to the nursery. Clean his face up.
I'm sure that this will continue to use the road where other vehicles are present.
Although Pinky did leave school before graduating and thus classified herself as one of the 5 of 15, here similarity with the national average ended some months ago with an important decision. When she left high school at the age of 17, her thoughts were on starting and caring for a family. And that was 2 years ago. And now that she has obtained this goal, she has decided that for the sake of this family, she must finish her education. She also wanted a job to supplement the income of her husband, who is a waiter at an exclusive private club. Schooling and a job, both full-time occupations in themselves, and neither one of which Pinky could acquire were it not for a very special school. The school she attends was established as a direct result of the 1960 report on national goals by the President's Commission. The report acknowledged the fact that many talented youngsters were cutting their educations short. The report went on to urge the formation of some type of rehabilitation program that could curb this problem. Pinky is part of this program. Arintra Lynn will spend the day at a nearby nursery. It's already 8 o'clock in the morning, and Pinky has to hurry in order to meet her first class. She's been up since 6:30, and her day will be a long one. A friend calls each morning to offer a ride. Here at Central High School is where Pinky will spend her day. In 1962, some facilities at this school were turned over to a federal program called the Manpower Development and Training Act. Through this act, high school dropouts are given a chance to gain the diploma they at first turned down. They are the second chance seniors. This English class is part of the program initiated in 1962 by the federal government. It was the purpose of that Manpower Act to begin within each state a program that would train or retrain those in the area who were without jobs. The major portion of the project, however, is aimed at the high school dropout, and these students are offered the opportunity to complete their education with such academic classes as this one. The instructors, like Richard Snook, are hired by the Oklahoma City School Board, but are paid exclusively with federal funds offered through the Manpower Act. It is the instructor's job to give as much individual attention as possible to the students in accordance with their ability and previous education.
It is self-instructional, but in order to get started together, well, I'm going to go over it with you. Follows generally the same pattern of the other books in the series. You have in the beginning the general instructions, and you're told what to do. Now on the back of your answer sheet there are some squares where you'll be drawing dots and lines and what have you. So, and you come to a number which is not found on the front and will be on the back. Some time ago we discussed some of the needs for, or I briefly mentioned some needs for following.
While Pinky is finishing her credits towards a high school diploma and at the same time training for a job, there is another group of students who have chosen to work only towards a diploma. Darlene Arnold is one of this group. She is married, has one child, and spends 3 hours a day in academic courses to finish her high school requirements.
Traffic regulations, cooking, and the reasons why you need to follow instructions around the house.
Well, like in dressmaking, if you buy a pattern, you should follow instructions, or else the dress wouldn't come out right. Sleeve might be somewhere else, and waistline might be somewhere else if you don't follow the pattern and the instructions.
Have you had to follow any instructions today in order to get along all right? Teresa?
Teresa Smith is another example of a student who has entered the Manpower program in only the academic phase. She, like many others who enroll in these academic courses, hopes to go on and obtain a university education.
Stoplights between here and home? You ever run them? And pay for it?
Yes, I pay for it.
When Pinky was turning off her alarm clock at 6:30, Vince Melton was just beginning his day's work in a vocational class. Vince had also been out of high school almost 2 years when his mother read about the Manpower program in the newspaper and passed the information on to him. His vocational class is a 36-week course in office machine repair. Other skill classes available to him were auto mechanics, sheet metal, offset printing, and a class in the use of welding and machine tools. All of these are set up on the basis of continual surveys conducted by the Oklahoma Employment Security Commission. Through the queries that they extend to local business, they determine what types of skilled labor will be needed in the next 1, 2, or 5-year period.
This screw right here. You find a loader.
In the future, other occupations that could be taught in the public school facilities under the Manpower Act are air conditioning and heating and upholstering and draperies. The facilities for all of them are provided by the Oklahoma State Board for Vocational Rehabilitation. For Vince and the others in his class, the program offers a chance for a respected occupation in their community and a good livelihood for their families. Some are enrolled in only the vocational courses, but when Vince shoves aside his work in this class, his day is only beginning. For Vince, like Pinky, is not satisfied with merely obtaining a skill. He wants his high school diploma, and by taking the opportunity to get it, he is actually gaining the ultimate for which the Manpower program was designed. Although an important function of the program is to train youths and adults in the skills of a trade, the policy also calls for strengthening their knowledge of life around them. In preparing the students with the fundamentals of the social studies, the sciences, mathematics, and English, the program hopes to increase their understanding of and participation in society. It takes more than just the know-how of a job for these students to be worthwhile citizens in their communities.
Now that we have washed and sanitized our hands, we're ready to make our patron comfortable. All right, this is the next strip, and it's used for the purpose of not coming in contact with the cape.
This is a cosmetology class, and for 5 hours a day, 5 days a week, it's Pinky's way of working towards a goal. She chose this vocational class over others in stenography or secretarial work for a very important reason. She hopes that someday she will be able to do this work in her home and supplement the family income while still caring for her children. Although she and the others enrolled in Manpower are fulfilling their high school responsibilities, their days in class are entirely different from the high school environment with which most people are familiar. These students have returned to school, and as in most responsibilities that are passed up the first time, it is more difficult and time-consuming for them now.
If the hair is oily, then we must use a shampoo that is designed for oily hair. If the hair is dry, then we use a shampoo that is designed for dry hair. This particular hair
in this cosmetology class, the girls must have 1,000 hours of training for the completion of the course. Over a period of just 43 weeks, this leaves few days for absences. For a girl like Pinky, with a family to care for and academic standards to maintain, this becomes 8 hours a day and sometimes more of hard work. Even when she finishes with her training, there will still be an examination with the State Board of Cosmetology that must be passed before she can be licensed as a cosmetologist.
Avoid wetting patients' clothing or getting soap into the eyes. All right, we'll go to the shampooing area and shampoo. Walk up, y'all.
There is even more to the Manpower program than helping these students to obtain a skill. It is hoped that when they have completed their courses, they will have also helped break a devastating cycle. In studies performed on the dropout problem, it's been found that 70% of the fathers and 80% of the mothers of high school dropouts were themselves dropouts. Pinky has 2 children plus a strong determination to gain an education and profession. When her children are older, she will understand, better perhaps than most, the value of such an education. With the all-important incentive from home, her children, in all probability, will complete their schooling. If they do go on to skilled professions within the community because of such incentive, the Manpower Act will have more than met its goal by profitably affecting the lives of more than just the participating students. Pinky ends her day at school with the cosmetology class. After 8 hours, it's time to return home for more in her role as wife and mother. Working in a grocery store is only one of several ways students find to support themselves while in school. Vince, as the head of his household, is entitled to some financial support under arrangements of the Manpower Act based on the size and needs of his family. He is also allowed a maximum of 20 hours a week for a part-time job. As a produce stocker in a neighborhood grocery store, he works 2 weekday nights and full-time on Saturdays and Sundays. There is yet another project that takes some of his time. He and some other students, representative of all phases of the federal program, were chosen to act as subjects and participate in tests designed to learn more about them and why they left school. Through such tests, it is hoped that someday prospective dropouts will be recognized and helped before they actually leave school. The testing is also designed to find out which type of program, academic, vocational, or combinations of both, is most effective in retraining. While Vince goes on with his work and studies, the results of his and other tests are being compiled and examined. The research project is being conducted at Oklahoma State University by a group of professors interested in the rehabilitation of high school dropouts. Their study is called the Youth Opportunity Research Project and is being financed under a $673,000 grant of the Ford Foundation. It is the only research program of its type currently being performed on high school dropouts. The head of the project is Dr. J. Pascal Twyman. Through his efforts and interest, the project was begun. Associate directors of the project are Drs. J.C. Eggermeyer and Victor O. Hornbostel. Each is in charge of a specific job.
This project is designed specifically for training of students who have dropped out of school in a number of different ways. We have, in essence, 3 different experimental treatment groups. We have 1 control group. The training phases of the project will last for a period of 1 year, and under the sponsorship of the Ford Foundation, we will be following up these students for a period of 2 additional years. The purpose of this project not only is to train these youngsters, give them some saleable skills, provide them with some enhancement of their social adjustment, their personal adjustment. We're concerned also with the extent to which we can come up with insights which will be relevant for regular high school programs. We're concerned with why students are motivated in particular ways. We're concerned with why they adjust in particular ways. We're also concerned with what happens to these students after they finish our training program and as they go out onto the job. As they go out onto the job for this period of 2 years, we'll be measuring such aspects as job success, the extent to which they get along well with their peers, their supervisors on the job, the extent to which they experience mobility, which is different or similar to the mobility of other people in the labor force, and so on.
During the course of our study, we were holding interviews with each of the people who are involved in the training. These interviews are about an hour in length, and we're attempting to construct as complete a picture as possible of the personal background of each of the people who dropped out of school and subsequently came into our retraining program. At the present time, these recorded interviews are being typed off by our secretary at the research project, and the typed transcripts then are being analyzed by the research staff. Recommendations will be made, assembled from these, and recommendations then will be made on the basis of the analysis coming from this. We know that with almost without exception, youngsters go into the first grade very enthusiastic about school, and we are attempting to find out some of the reasons why this interest tends to wane as they become older and as they move through the grades.
We are finding that these young folks have undergone the struggles in getting to feel themselves as part of the middle class culture. And they are getting an intensive program of training here. Before we start this program, we've done 2 days of testing in the academic areas and the vocational areas. In addition to the academic tests, we also have a number of personality tests that we're giving them, social class tests, and ratings by the instructors. At the end of the program, in all these areas where we've tested at the beginning, we will test again. This means that we have had about 2 days of testing at the beginning and 2 days of testing at the end. This vast amount of information will be combined with the information that we're getting from the interviews and other sources of information to make a real effort to see just how these people are getting along and what they have learned. This information that we are collecting is being compiled in the project office at Oklahoma State University. There are about 8 people involved in this, and it means that every item of information must be placed on a coding machine, on a coding sheet, and then transferred to an IBM card so that later on it can be analyzed by the IBM 1410 computer. We will try to see the difference among these different groups in their academic learning and in their skill learning, and also in all of the social and economic variables, so that we can pick out those things that are significant in their background to see what has happened from the time they've gone from the first grade on through what now is almost the completion of their high school and this additional training.
A job is, after all, the ultimate goal of those who finish their training under the Manpower program. 75% of those who have graduated have gone on to obtain jobs, and it's a memorable day when that goal is reached. Vince found a job in Pauls Valley, and with the help of family and friends, he moved his wife and 2 small children to their new home soon after the completion of his courses. He found the job himself in a one-man typewriter and office machine shop. The owner agreed to pay for a correspondence course in the maintenance of calculator and tabulator machines for his new partner. Vince, at 19 years of age, has a wife and 2 children, and more importantly, a job with which to support them. He has worked long and hard hours to finish an education he cut short. Now he is ready to begin life in a community with the profession he would not have been prepared for otherwise. For 2 more years, he will be tested and questioned by the researchers from Oklahoma State University to determine just how well he does adjust to his work and society. But for right now, the job is the important subject on his mind. He has completed his work, and only the final ritual of graduation remains. The graduation ceremony was held at St. Luke's Methodist Church for over 100 graduating seniors. Like most commencement exercises, it was met by those being honored with a certain amount of mixed emotions. The studying was over. All the hard work was past them now, and graduation was a pleasant and exciting formality. Vince Melton was back for the graduation. His classwork had ended some weeks earlier, but there was still the diploma to be gained and to be held. Pinky Barnett had finished the number of hours necessary for her cosmetology course, and after the graduation ceremony, there would be that final test with the State Board of Cosmetology that she must pass in order to fulfill her wishes entirely. And there were different thoughts and different emotions for each of the graduating seniors as the time drew near for them to receive their diplomas. From Dr. Jack F. Parker, Superintendent of the Oklahoma City Public Schools. There were several guests of honor watching the ceremonies with a great deal of pride. They were from the various agencies responsible for Manpower and its function. They had not only become involved with the program, but many of them felt a close relationship with those who were receiving their diplomas. This was not a particularly unusual graduation, but it was a unique group of graduates. A great deal of research is going into the reasons of why high school students drop out of their education before its completion. Some of these students are involved in such research, but it would also be interesting to know what motivates such youngsters to return to their education. It's easy to leave a job when it becomes too difficult, but to return to your responsibilities is difficult indeed. Perhaps the answer lies in a strong determination to gain a sheet of paper that can be held after it has been won. Won after having been given a second chance.